nervous because I'm here now.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with James Haskell. And in this episode, we want to discuss a popular question I've been seeing going around social media. I've heard people discussing is this is the question I'm here. If you could steal one player off of each of your division opponents' teams, who would that one player be? So we're upcoming season. It's right around the corner. If we could just magically snatch a player off of each roster, the Browns, the Bengals, and the Steelers, who would we take? And then I think actually this is going to be a surprise to Jimmy, which I think would be fun to do at the end, is try and predict what fans of the other teams who they would steal off of the Ravens, which we didn't even prep for this. This is a surprise one for Jimbo. So, yeah, Jimmy, so if you had to choose, I guess we'll start with the Steelers. If you had to choose one player to snatch away from the Steelers and break the hearts of fans everywhere, Steeler fans, who would you take?
So I'm going to give my answer, but I'm going to preface it first. Now, like Glenn said before we started the show, the guys that you take, you have to remember that what you have on your roster and then who you're going to take with the other picks of the three. So I'm going with Juju Smith-Schuster. As it stands, the number one receiver for the Steelers. I think he plays like a Raven. I thought we were going to draft him. I know that there was some buzz around that as well. I think there were some other people thinking the same thing. I think he would be a great compliment to Hollywood, a great weapon for Lamar, and he'd be with a Brown again.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, all right, fair enough.
What about you?
I have to go with T.J. Watt. Even though I wasn't a fan of his as a Ravens fan when he was punching, was it Gus in the stomach trying to punch
and Robert
the ball
Griffin
out.
III. I swear he was trying to haymaker him.
But there's no doubt of his talent on the field. The guy is absolutely incredible. He's a guy that can play both the run and the pass, which is very valuable if you're going to be a member of the Ravens. And, yeah, I think he's exceptional at both. He was the number one rated edge defender according to PFF. So no matter which way you look at it, he's incredible. And he would look perfect opposite Judon in our system.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Where should we go next?
Let's go to Cleveland.
All right. So the Cleveland Browns, to no surprise, who I think is the actual best pass rusher in the division, is Myles Garrett, the thoroughbred. I mean, that guy, if God came down today and built a pass rusher, he would look like Myles Garrett, period. And so other than the swinging of the helmet, Myles Garrett to me is a more individually talented player than TJ Watt. So I'm going to take Myles Garrett. I think he's the most talented football player on their team. Yeah, I said that, even though they have Odell Beckham. I'm taking Myles Garrett.
He might be the most talented pass rusher, even though I'd argue that with you with TJ. But I think TJ's versatility with him being able to play the run as well as the pass, and I think Myles Garrett doesn't do that as well, so that's why I took him. So I'm going to go in a different side, on the other side of the ball for the Browns, and I'm going to snatch their brand new tight end that they just signed and gave a whole bunch of money to come over from Atlanta. Mr. Hooper will now be a Baltimore Raven. And can you imagine this? If we had Hooper next to Andrews and then Boyle in the inside, I mean, that would make, which, last season I think we may have had the best tight end group in the league. That would certainly be that, and there would be no discussion if we had Hooper, Andrews, who are two of the top receiving tight ends in the league, and then paired, of course, with Boyle, who is maybe the top blocking tight end. It can catch a little bit out of the backfield and is a horse to bring down. So I would love to add him into our offense. Who you like from the Bengals?
So the Bengals, this was the difficult one because as far as depth goes, there's not too much. I already went receiver, and I'm going to double dip. Going A.J. Green. That's right. A.J. Green alongside Marquise Brown, alongside Juju Smith-Schuster. Look out. All three, they're built differently. They vary in style and in strengths of play. I don't think any of them would get an overwhelming amount of targets, which I might not be too happy about. But Lamar would have a plethora of weapons, and that would be incredible to see. I mean, how do you defend that with our running attack?
It wouldn't be easy, that's for sure. But I like See, I got to agree with you. I got to take A.J. Green from them. I mean, I look at their receivers, and I consider Tyler Boyd. I realize he had a down season this past year, but I'm sure you can attribute most of that to the lack of quarterback play and just overall down year for their whole offense. So I'm not going to hold them just to that. But if A.J. Green can return back to 90% of what he was, then he's immediately a top-flight receiver, and he just fits perfectly for what the Ravens would need opposite Marquise Brown, that instant red zone threat, and a guy that has burned the Ravens enough. And I'm done seeing it. So if I had the magic wand, I'm snatching him, and he's doing to the Bengals in purple what he was doing to the Ravens wearing that Bengal outfit. So.
All right, so let's move on. I think that the picks are interesting. To recap, though, let's see. So I took Garrett from the Browns. Well, I took from the Steelers, Juju Smith-Schuster, took Myles Garrett from the Browns, and took A.J. Green from the Bengals. Who were your three again?
Mine were T.J. Watt, Austin Hooper, and A.J. Green.
I like yours a lot, too. I just prefer Garrett over Watt, but I totally get your argument as far as an overall talent. It's a couple notes. I think it's interesting that neither of us took Odell or Jarvis Landry. I was really close to taking Jarvis. I think he's more valuable than Odell, in my opinion, based on you talked about the fact that as an overall football player, I think he's much better as an overall football player when you're talking about blocking, team leadership, things like that. But anyway, so I think it's interesting. Neither of us took them. But I will say this: I'm interested to see the picks that you have for the other teams taking, because I might throw some surprises in there, but this is going to be an interesting one because this is off the cuff here. So who are we going to start with?
Well, that's the interesting thing because, let me say this. I guess I want to start with Pittsburgh because I think Pittsburgh is the most interesting team to think who they would take because, Big Ben's not getting any younger.
Right.
Okay. And they don't seem to have that guy in waiting. They don't seem to have that young guy that's learning under Big Ben, unless you believe in Mason Rudolph or Duck Hodges, which I certainly do not. But so for me, I'm going to put Lamar's name out there. I mean, why not snatch Lamar away from us when they saw what he's going to be capable of, and there's no reason to expect him to be anything but better than he was last season, which is almost hard to believe. So I got to go with Pittsburgh. They're going to take Lamar and snatch him out of Baltimore and break our hearts.
So this is the only thing. So you would have Lamar and you have Ben sitting. I guess you could try and trade him. I mean, but that inflated salary hit is going to be brutal.
Who's that?
Ben's.
Oh yeah. Well, look. I mean, I would bring them both in, and for the first year, I would use them both, and then I would say, I mean, honestly, it'd be hard to ever bench Lamar.
Right? How do you? Yeah, exactly.
I understand, but look, I got to figure out a way. If I'm a Steeler GM and you're giving me the chance to take anyone, I'm taking a quarterback. For sure. Unless, I mean, I guess if I was the GM and you gave me a pick from all three, maybe I would consider taking Burrow and then taking somebody like Hollywood or something from the Ravens. I could see that, but just for this, we're only picking one for we're only picking who the one team would take from us. I got to go Lamar. I mean, who would you say?
Yeah, so I lost no sleep, or I lost no time thinking about this question. Absolutely Lamar Jackson. Like, I tried really hard to, decide who else they would take, but how can you not take the unanimous MVP, right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me in my mind. So, look, Lamar Jackson is similar to, when Michael Jordan got drafted, the GM, who had the second pick, I think at that time was the Blazers. When Olajuwon went first, the Blazers called the UNC coach and said, hey, we have a guard in Drexler, but Michael Jordan's sitting on the table. We need a center, right? And he's like, well, draft Jordan, play him at center.
Yeah. Anyway.
So to me, at the end of the day, it's Lamar Jackson. So, but now, how does this work? The Steelers just took Lamar Jackson. Is he off the table for the other teams?
No, he's not off the table, but I don't expect the Cincinnati Bengals would take him, considering they just drafted Burrow, and they're probably pretty high on him.
Okay. Well, let's continue. Then.
All right,
let's
let's
go to the
continue.
Browns.
All right, let's go to the Browns. I'll lead us off. I think the Browns, judging by how they drafted lately, they and really their pass rush, they want a good cornerback. They want to have a top flight shutdown corner on the back end to go along with Myles Garrett getting pressure on the quarterback. So I'm gonna say they're gonna take Marcus Peters from the Baltimore Ravens.
I can't wait. I can't wait to give you my answer on this one. You ready?
Is it gonna be Lamar again?
It's Lamar Jackson. And think about the poetic justice behind this. Baker, the first pick of the first round. Lamar, the last pick of the first round.
Fifth quarterback, I think.
Yeah. And, so I'm going with Lamar Jackson, and I don't think if they had the opportunity to do that, I don't think they think about it for more than 3 seconds. More than 3 seconds. Nope. Sorry, Baker, you can take Baker, you can trade him, you can cut him. I'm sure
Here's the thing about Baker. Baker, let's not forget that Baker broke the touchdown record for a rookie quarterback, and he didn't even start till like week 6.
Right, and
so let's not act like he's done. I don't think he's done yet.
I don't believe in him. And even if he ends up – so think as objectively as possible.
If you take Lamar when we go to do the Bengals, I'm coming through this screen.
Let's think about this objectively just for a second before we move on. With that said, Lamar Jackson was the only player in the NFL the second time in NFL history to be the unanimous MVP at 22 years old. He's younger than Baker by 2 years, like 2.5 years. And he's already shown that he has a higher ceiling, in my opinion. Lamar Jackson has never had an Odell Beckham to throw to. Lamar Jackson has never had a Jarvis Landry to throw to. Sorry, say what you want about Hollywood, but at the time, he was not.
Or a Julian Edelman, according to you.
Or a Julian Edelman. I mean, who has he had? Because Hollywood wasn't healthy, right? So before that, I mean, who was our wide receiver core? Michael Crabtree?
Yeah, John Brown.
I'm just saying that I don't think they would think about it for more than 3 seconds, and he would be out the door. And think about it. You can trade him, get a mid-round pick for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams looking for
there's a full born every second. I'm sure that somebody would give him a first or second rounder for Baker. Somebody believes in him, in his big old mouth.
I love that you hate Baker Mayfield. It's so funny. All right, well, let's move on then. Let's move on to
Can I start?
Sure. Bengals, who they taking? Don't do it. We're not doing trades. You can't just take Lamar and then flip him for a bunch of ones. We're not talking about that.
No. They're if they took Lamar, they're taking him to play him.
They're trading Burrow.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're doing. You can't tell me to step off my pick. They're taking Lamar Jackson. They're taking Lamar Jackson. He has a historical talent. Look,
I should have made this. I should have made some more qualifiers here.
You can't do anything but take Lamar Jackson. He's in a league that is one of one. Period. Nobody's Lamar Jackson.
I got to believe that they think Burrow is some sort of – I mean, look what he just did in LSU. He had the greatest single college season in history and took on so many – it's not like he had the hardest schedule I can ever remember, and he destroyed everyone. I mean, it was easy. So I'm going to say –
But Lamar did that in NFL.
Yeah, but he didn't beat Pat Mahomes yet, and they're the champs. I'm just saying that if you were a Bengal, I'm just trying to be play the other side.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. If I was the Bengals, I'm looking at my roster and I'm going, my receiving core is pretty darn good. Okay. My running back room's pretty sharp. I think I may have started to sync up or seal up this offensive line by my recent draft picks. I need a tight end. I'm going with Mark Andrews if I'm the Bengals. I'm snatching up Mark Andrews, who is an absolute beast, 265 pounds, but can run like a deer. He's a horse to bring down once he gets the ball. His hands are incredible. I mean, we don't even know his ceiling yet. I think he would be a perfect person to put into that offense and make them an instant top-tier offense if Joe Burrow can play like a number one pick is supposed to.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. All right, so let me just give you, before we recap, let me give you two non-quarterback ones. I'll give you a non-quarterback for the Browns. I understand the need for a corner. While Marcus Peters is incredible, I think that we it's interesting how you and I differ as far as like value in being an overall player based on position. Because I don't know.
You like Humphrey better because of his tackling and stuff.
Yeah, because to me
that.
he's more of an overall football player. While of course what Marcus Peters does is incredible and extremely valuable. I don't know. That's just my preference. So I would go with Humphrey.
Okay.
To the Browns, and then to the Bengals, I can totally see Andrews. And they don't need a running back. They have so many holes. Look, pick anybody.
They don't have a lot of holes. They got a great offensive line. They got a great receiving core. They got great running backs.
You're right, but I mean defensively, okay, so they have some guys up front. But what I meant was you could take anybody from our secondary. So that's what I meant. You have holes, so pick anyone from the secondary. Pick and play. So I'm going with the same guy, Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. Well, that was it for us. I mean, I had a good time. I think that was a fun kind of like question.
Now, let me ask you this before we end this, though. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Realistically speaking, I think the Bengals would probably hold on to Joe Burrow.
Okay.
But if you had to put your money on it, you really think that if the Browns had the opportunity to not only get Lamar Jackson, but take him from us.
Yeah.
They would stick with Baker?
It depends on – yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what their confidence level is in Baker. When you look at what they've done to shore up their tackle positions with Conklin and then drafting who did they end up drafting? I can't remember which left tackle, but they drafted a left tackle.
Yeah. I forgot the kid's name too.
The weapons around bringing in Hooper, already having Njoku's coming off an injury. I got to think that they would look at this as an opportunity to say – where we could shore up our defense with this pick. And, man, I mean, I don't know. I would feel if I was the Browns, I would probably not steal Lamar away because it only thing that matters is if you win the Super Bowl. So if you feel like you're this close, which if I'm a Browns, I mean, I don't know. I know they didn't make the playoffs, but their roster is so loaded. It's so ridiculously loaded that it's just if you're telling me I can take – because imagine if you're the Browns and you're not just stealing one player from the Ravens. You're stealing one from each of your divisional opponents.
Yeah. You
could then snatch a T.J. Watt and put him opposite Myles Garrett and then take a Marcus Peters, put him in the back end, and then take – you know what I mean? Like, there's things you could do that I feel like the offense will be plenty good enough with that stable of running backs to go with Baker that I would probably lean away from taking Lamar and go for the win. Yeah,
I understand what you're saying, but just imagine this for a second. All of that talent you just talked about, right? Just imagine you're playing Madden and you plug in Lamar Jackson.
But they don't have Greg Roman as their offensive coordinator. That's the problem.
That's true, but at the end of the day, I mean,
he's
it would
incredible.
Just be so hard for me not to do. But I get your point too. It would just be so hard.
He would look good in that zone scheme, though. Imagine him running that bootleg, that play-action bootleg with Lamar running out the back. Oh, gosh.
Well, you guys let us know what you think. Let us know a couple things. Whose three do you like?
Yeah.
I already know it's going to be me, but, just throw in a couple for Glenn to make him feel good.
Hold on. Yeah, I hear his craziness. Let me say, fans of other teams, not Ravens fans, Bengals, Browns, and Steelers, let us know who you would snatch from the Ravens. Let us know, are we wrong? Would you take Lamar if you're a Steeler fan? Would you still take Lamar if you're a Browns fan or a GM? Let us know. Tell Jimmy he's nuts for not taking TJ Watt. And, we'll talk to you guys soon.
See ya.